Karen Dugan. I'm Associate Head at West Thornton and I've worked here since 1994, so I've seen a lot of changes over the years. Okay, so we've done a lot of work on learning basically and how to influence children's learning. But one year, about 10 years ago, our teachers in Year 6, after a particularly hard year of children in the SATs year group, came to us and they kind of were on their knees really, and they were kind of saying, you know, there's got to be another way. We can't keep dragging the children to the learning. We want them to actually want to do this. Is it just about SATs? Are we looking just for the level 4 or are we looking for something else? And that got us thinking, and we were thinking, what do we want these children in this school to leave us with? What do we want our end product to be? Are we just searching for that level 4, that level 5, that expected or greater depth level? Is that it? Of course we want that, but what else do we want? So we started thinking about how we're going to get these children to engage more fully in learning and to want to take part in it. We didn't want to have to force them to learn. We didn't want to have to be there, you know, kind of almost pouring the knowledge in and them being just a passive receiver. We wanted them to take part and to actively engage, which we weren't getting. We were getting children who were doing it because it was for the SATs, and that was a common theme. And not everything needs to be for the SATs. Croydon, where we are, is a borough of 2 halves. There's some very affluent areas, but where the school is not in one of those areas. And we wanted to level the playing field between our children and children in a different part of the borough, because our children had the ideas, but they couldn't articulate them. They had, as I say, the ideas, we take them to science competitions, but they didn't have the confidence to do it. It seemed that the children who came from a slightly more affluent background came to school with a bit more already. They had a bit more confidence, they had a bit more assertiveness, they had a bit more inquiry, and our children were lacking in those things. So we started looking for a creative curriculum, and that led us up a road of research and reading and looking at schools who'd gone about things slightly differently. We discovered the work of Guy Claxton and Bill Lucas, all the building learning power work, and we realised that children understanding how to be a good learner was the key to unlocking them wanting to do more in learning. So we invested a lot of time and energy and CPD into that approach. We overhauled our curriculum and we started putting the learning at the heart of everything we did, rather than looking at coverage. The coverage is important. We offer a broad and balanced curriculum, but what we want is children to want to do it. And since we've been working in this way, that's what we've been getting. We work in, it's a 3 form-entry primary school, which is an old Victorian building, over 100 years old, and about 10 years or so, you would have had 21 individual classrooms with 21 teachers, all with 30 children, all teaching, you know, their group. Teachers' behaviours seem to be quite fixed, and teachers are creatures of habit, and they will, no matter what you say to them in terms of, do you have to teach that as a whole class? Is that the most efficient way for the learning to take place? Whole class teaching seemed to rule. So no matter what we did, we kind of had to think, you know, is there a better way? Do you need 30 tables and 30 chairs in a classroom? Does learning magically take place because a child's sitting at a table, on a chair? What would happen if they sat on the floor? You know, would learning still take place? What would happen if you put a sofa in the classroom? What would happen if you moved a table out of the classroom? So we started to question everything that we'd ever done, even down to using maths books with squares. Do you have to have maths books with squares? Apparently you don't. You still can do maths without squares. So we just, you know, just started to question everything. And we started to change the habits of some of our teachers within those individual classrooms. And that work that we did over a number of years with the curriculum and looking at learning and the environment of the classroom first took us only so far up a road, but we wanted more. And we'd started reading about schools in Australia. We'd started looking at the Beach schools in Sweden. We'd started looking at Stephen Heppel's work, and we discovered a concept of a more open plan approach where collaboration is at the heart of it, where teachers are working together as well as children working together. So we decided one year when we had some money that we needed to take the next step, because we felt that our teachers were holding this process back. So we wanted to change the environment and almost de-school school, to make a classroom look so different that a teacher had to work differently and a learner had to think about where they wanted to learn in order to learn best. So essentially 3 classrooms are knocked into one big space where there's still 90 children, 3 teachers plus support staff, and choice is at the heart of it. Not all the choice in the world, but some choice about what do you want to learn, where do you want to learn, and who do you want to learn it with. There's the pedagogy behind it in terms of there has to be focused teaching that goes on, and the children don't get a choice in that. They have to come to a focused teaching session led by a teacher or a teaching assistant or whoever is the most expert. And then the rest of the time they are choosing activities from an independent learning menu that are connected to the focus activities, but they can decide what order they need to do them, and they can decide when in the day they want to do them, how long they want to do them for, but we never ever move away from the standards. The standards, they have to get it done, and it has to be good, because otherwise there's absolutely no point whatsoever. The technology that we have in the school is used as a tool to help us, to help the children, to go hand in hand with what we're doing. So the idea is that if the children need an iPad, say, or tablet-based technology, if they need the laptop, if that's the best tool for the learning that they are doing, then they help themselves to it, just as if they would if they needed a pencil or a paintbrush or go and get the dictionary. So some children use the technology a lot, some children, don't. It totally depends. Obviously, we still follow the national curriculum. We have a computing curriculum, so technology is used within that, but technology filters through everything, every subject that we do. Well, we saw an increase in our attendance, which we didn't expect at all. Children wanted to come to school. So for the first time when we did this, sort of 6 or 7 years ago now, when we had our first zone, those children started coming to school more. They wanted to be at school because it was a stimulating, creative environment. They had some choice. It was engaging. It was fun. They started to want to come to school. So those children who had been persistent absentees in the past were coming to school more often, and we hadn't, we couldn't have planned for that. Looking back, it feels quite obvious, but at the time, it was a surprise to us. Another unexpected gain for us was behaviour. Behaviour inside and outside the school improved. Low-level disruption in the classroom. That kind of children tapping pencils because they're fed up, or children, flicking things because, they're bored, they want to move on. Children that, he's looking at me, or, he's pushed me. In a traditional classroom, they're quite small, at least ours were, and you would say to children, well, just stay away from each other or don't look at each other, but they couldn't. The classrooms were too small, whereas in the learning zone, they're a lot bigger, you can genuinely move away. They don't have to ask to do that. They know that if something's annoying them or something's getting on their nerves or they're being distracted by something, it's down to them to get up and move because they know that they have to get their learning done. So behaviour inside really improved, but behaviour in the playground at lunchtime, because the children are allowed to move around in the classroom and decide where they want to work, and they're not tied to the table 24/7. They can choose to sit on the sofa, choose to sit on the floor. As long as their work is done to a good standard, it doesn't matter, but they've got that freedom of movement. And what we found was that lunchtimes you didn't get that explosion into the playground of, you know, I've had to sit still for 3 hours, I've not been allowed to move, and now's my chance. And the children would, you know, almost lose control in the playground because they've been too static. So lunchtime behaviour really improved to the point where we didn't really even have a kind of, you know, a time-out room for bad behaviour. That just sort of disappeared, and nobody really knows when it went, but it went. So yeah, it's unexpected gains. My favourite learning zone, in terms of the designing of them, I love Year 5 with the bridge. Something about working at a height is my favourite zone, and particularly in Year 5 because you can see everything that's going on. We got the design really right, I think, there. But in terms of my favourite bit about the children and how they work in the school within the zones, it's their level of independence. Children want to learn. And they will totally surprise you, but only if you let them surprise you. So our whole mantra is about putting children in situations where they're being challenged and they surprise you with the outcome. So that's something that happens every day, really.